Hey everyone, glad to see you. Hope you guys had a fantastic end of year, and we're grateful to have everyone on Waterfed Wednesday, episode 39. As you can see, we have our good friend Cody Downs with us. How you doing, Cody?
Doing great. Doing great. Glad to be back.
Awesome. I think you had a pretty good time while you're off, right?
I traveled every state in the Southeast.
That's awesome. Uh, how how was that by the end of it?
It was over 3,200 miles round trip in a car. It was great. Great. Saw things I knew existed, didn't see it before in person. It's a good experience. I feel
Awesome.
rejuvenated and ready to knock this year out. So
Right
much
on.
needed.
Right on. I think a lot of people are saying the same thing. We're seeing a lot of people who have are coming into the new year refreshed and ready to go. So that's what we're doing as well. We had our annual planning, so can't wait to get that going throughout our organization. But yeah, welcome to Waterfed Wednesday, episode 39. Cody and I will be discussing how to maintain your systems. We often get asked questions throughout the year. So we thought it'd be a good opportunity to take a moment to go over those. Before we do that, again, welcome to Waterfed Wednesday. This is where we get to go beyond the bucket and dive into the world of waterfed cleaning, where we get to answer your questions about our equipment, our business, and our goal of helping cleaners worldwide to get the job done faster, safer, and better. Before we get into the meat of the show, Cody, just want to mention what we have going on for this month. We have a January giveaway promotion. So, well, what does that entail? All orders placed during this month will be entered to win $3,000 in Tucker USA store credits. You can apply directly to your account. So yes, all orders are placed. You'll get a chance to win that. Also, no purchases necessary to enter. So you can also mail in your entries. That will be if you will send in your entries to our address, which is 17 South Gilbert Street, Castle Rock, Colorado. That's 80104. Once again, our address is 17 South Gilbert Street, Castle Rock, Colorado, 81014. Get those mail and entries by February the 6th. Make sure your name and your contact information is included. So, and then we'll announce the lucky winner on February the 9th. So don't miss your chance to kick off the year big with Tucker in our January giveaway. Another thing we want to highlight, one of the popular brushes that we had over the past few years has been, here, let me get it here, the Alpha Solar 20. So this is a great heavy brush for solar cleaning. It comes equipped with out of the box our white scrubbing pads. So basically our Alpha scrubber. There's two of those 10-inch blocks in there. It has rinse bar at the top and at the bottom. So very effective at scrubbing solar panels. Also comes with the honey badger inserts. Like I said, this has been a very popular brush for the past few years. And one of the things we've been requested, hey, we love this. Can you make it bigger? Cody, you know at Tucker we do things big, right?
That's right.
All right. Here's our unveiling. I don't even know if I can get it in the shot. Here it is.
Okay.
Look at this thing.
I hadn't seen that yet.
This is like Star Wars. Remember the ship goes through?
Yeah.
All right. The Tucker Alpha Solar 32. So we have just like the other one, but we have our 17-inch brush blocks. So that's our Alpha scrubber brush blocks, and then you can interchange those with the XL Honey Badger. So that's what comes in the box. You get obviously the 32-inch brush. This is all aluminum made. Rinse bars again on the top and the bottom. You get 10 pads of the scrubber pads. Uh, the two XL honey badgers, very popular with solar. And then, of course, it comes with our high flow hose kit and something that a lot of people have been asking about. Hey, I want to run this hose internally. So what we've done is just added this small piece. So you have your high flow hose, and then you have the ability. It's lots of juggle here, Cody.
And Starship's not included.
Yeah, no starship included. The ability to plug it in. So can't. I don't know if you can see that anymore. Like I said,
Yeah.
but so way to start off the year with a bang. We got new products. We got new products from Tucker, Tucker Solar 32, available now. Oh, I feel like a whole mouthful there, Cody.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
ready for it?
I feel like I just left an infomercial, and now we have this.
Go right on. Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into it. I think we did have a topic for the show. So if you're just joining us again, this is Waterfed Wednesday, episode 39. Myself, my name is Alex Brunner. If you're new to the show, we have Cody Downs with us as well. If, like I said, if you're new to this, we have plenty of episodes for you to check out. Head on over to our YouTube channel. It's at Tucker underscore USA. Best place to get all of our past episodes. All right, Cody. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who are new in your role here?
I'm Cody Downs. I've been around. That's pretty much it. No. I've been in the industry for since the washing industry since 2013, the end of the last season of 2013. I was in a large company that sold mostly just pressure washing equipment, supplies, accessories, and chemicals. I was the operations manager, which basically meant I ran the show. I was second to the top. So for a long time, I helped make a lot of decisions. I helped inspire a lot of direction um, in the way of learning how to get to the next level. And I want to say I helped us get there, and it was e-commerce based, and then also we had a brick and mortar store as well, um, running from the inventory side of it to helping develop and name chemicals. You name it. I mean, up to training technical support, and learning from the best in the industry on technical support, so I could be a better trainer when needed. But mostly, I did uh, just running the parts and pieces, the moving parts of running a business every day. So I've been to possibly over 50 conventions in that time frame. Um, Lots of conversations helping solve situations, especially on the troubleshooting side. I've seen everything there is to know about pressure washing, and I've only been with Tucker for a year. Next week it'll be a year. Uh, but I think I've seen everything at Tucker in that year that could go wrong that I've seen so far. I want to say, but pretty confident compared to where I was this time last year. I didn't know that much about a lot of this stuff. I knew a little bit, but now I've aced it. So on our topics today, I think it's going to be a lot more helpful going into this round for maintenance. We did a video a few months back on maintenance, and I think I've learned a lot more since that time. So for for what it's worth, hope I didn't ramble, but go ahead.
Right on. No, glad you brought your past history. So it definitely has helped out with us here at Tucker. So we're definitely happy to have you here. Yes, you're right. Your 1 year anniversary comes up next week, the 14th. Um, it's been a quick year, and I know we kind of thrown you into it, and you've been able to build up that knowledge. So I thought it'd be great to, after a year's worth of answering these calls that you've been dealing with, really touch base on these again. Uh, Apologize, we had some technical difficulties earlier, and I'm running everything off my MacBook now. So I'm now seeing in this little screen that we have a lot of comments. So we just want to acknowledge everybody that showed up. We got Peter Cruz, we got the boss man, Sean Gavin, uh, we got Chappelle Solar Cleaning, Matthew Garcia, Joshua, all you guys. Thanks for always joining in with us and supporting us. Um, Glad to have you guys listening in and watching. Uh, then we have I think this Chase Palmer got some questions going on. So we'll highlight some of these questions as we go along here. So Cody, let's first talk about filter maintenance. And I kind of have this broken up in segments of some of the systems that are similar. I don't know if you noticed this in our little um, uh, not script, but what we kind of wrote out here that we wanted topics to cover. So we have Arrival, our fill and go, and our max output. They have kind of similar filtrations. So let's talk about, um, you know, the filters and replacement cycles. So I know that's probably the most common question you get. Hey, when do I replace my pre filters, my post filters? What do you say?
Well, the main thing is on the. This is where the sediment one, from what I'm learning, is the sediment and the carbon are basically, like you've got your combo filters, obviously, with the Rival and the fill and go. Now the max output has them separate. You've got a separate sediment from your carbon. So
Yeah,
this well, I think fill and go does that too, right? The fill and
correct.
go has two separate. All right. So basically for the Rival, you'd have the carbon up top and then the sediment. From what I'm understanding is with the carbon, you should get about 5,000 gallons
Right.
with the carbon. Um, what I'm learning, because I'm also doing the technical support for Tucker. I'm a sales rep for the B2B side. I sell to all of the stores that sell pressure washing, but I'm also technical support for Tucker. So I've learned a lot in these phone calls and video calls about this system. And the thing that I've learned just in testing is that with the carbon, you may get 5,000 gallons, but let's say you're not getting 5,000. Maybe you're pulling from well water or something to where it's contaminating it. And there, I've been asked this recently, this week. Can I replace a carbon and remove a membrane out of a system and put a carbon in its place and get the same results? Unfortunately, no. It's not going to affect your TDS. Now, what I've noticed is over time, let's say it's really just full of junk, it may increase your TDS before it goes to your RO membrane as it ages with stuff in it. That's one thing I've noticed. So you can test with a handheld TDS meter, you can test after your carbon to see if it's higher than what's coming out of the spigot. And that's when you'd know, from what I'm learning, if it's time to change it as well, or go with the 5,000 gallon rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about we talked about the Rival and that combo filter. So let's go into those systems that have they're similar 10-inch, right? But they have the
Yeah.
dedicated sediment and carbon. Are you finding that the sediment lasts as long as the carbon, or what are you seeing?
It depends. It's a cloth like material it just picks up the soils. It picks up your sediment, because that's what it's called, right? Sediment filter. But it can pick up just trash in there. I had one customer early last year when I started doing the tech support. He said he had aquatic life in his sediment filter. Stuff was swimming around like sea monkeys. So it was like you never obviously change it if you have fish swimming around in your sediment. But um, I think it's really, if it starts to turn color, that's one thing. That's something to keep an eye on. I've noticed in my video calls that, let's say someone says, I have slow flow. I don't know what's going on with my flow. The first thing I do is I look at the sediment in the video call, and I'm looking for color. If there's, like a orange to rust color, I've noticed that maybe that's possibly it. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I can think of on sediment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to go through those, I think, a lot quicker. These are relatively, obviously, even the carbon filters with the chloramine killer, they're relatively inexpensive. You're not that expensive when you compare it to the RO membrane that they're protecting. So when you put it that way, be on it with those, especially sediment. Those are so so cheap. Um, be on top of those because that's what the main purpose of of the pre-filter is, to protect your RO membrane, which is the workhorse of any RODI system. That's going to do at least 90% especially when they're new, of removing that TDS. So we want to make sure we're protecting those. So changing those on those cycles. Now the next common one is the DI. And can you talk about that and why it isn't such a clear cut answer as for how many gallons, especially coming from the pressure washing world? Everybody talks about either hours or gallons, right?
Yeah, in the pressure washing world, the big question is, what's my gallon per minute? How often do I do this? Do I need to service it or have it serviced? Take it to a shop and have it serviced. That's a that's really a pressure washing thing. Or how do I mix this with that? A lot of chemical in the pressure washing world. This is just water. We're trying to keep it as clear as we can. So, in everything we're talking about today, it's important that we we give that RO the best we can so it can give the DI the best it can for a long time. And DI only lasts so long. And the DI we're talking about here at Tucker is not mixed bed resin. We're talking about virgin DI resin. Uh, Highly recommend, if you refill, to use virgin DI resin. With mixed bed, you're not sure of what that mixture might be. It might be a low percentage of new, so you want to make sure, just go ahead and get the all new. That way you get the longest out of it. So a rival, let's say they've got, I don't know, 450 ppm coming out of the spigot. Then when it goes through the RO is going to bring that down to 50, right?
Mhm.
Well, you'd get about 209 gallons at approximate, uh, before the resin needs to be changed in that scenario. If you're getting 50 to the DI, I might not be right on my top number, but if this is producing 50 ppm to the DI, you should get about 209 for arrival. For the bigger units, much more. But it's not in minutes. It's not in days. It's not in months. I've heard people say, well, last time my resin lasted this long, and now it's not lasting as long. Well, last time, were you brand new in the business and didn't have as many jobs as you're doing now? Because you could just be blowing through it, because when you started, maybe you only had a couple jobs a month, and now you're doing a couple jobs a day. So you blow through your resin a lot faster.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why we talk about we can estimate gallons and but really this is why having your TDS meter available with you is important. For window cleaning, the industry standard is the 10 parts per million, because that's when you can start seeing um, spotting. Now, I personally, out in the field, I've gone up as high as 17. I've heard of others going up higher, but 10, you're replacing it at the right time. You're not going to. be risking it, especially if you have an exterior only job, can't see you go from the inside. I think it's doing the trick. Well, if at 10 parts per million, um, you, you swap it out there, you're getting the best possible water on the glass. And then to your point, like, yeah, do we have people that are using it more than they were last year? That's always typically the case. Oh, you went from 5 hours a week to 30 hours a week. Of course, you will be going through your resin quicker. Another thing
Yeah.
is, dependent on the systems, whether it's, you got the rival, the fill and go, your max output. If you add um, a booster pump to a rival, you're going to be pushing more water through your system, meaning more water, more gallons per minute going through your DI. So that will exhaust your DI quicker. So having your your TDS meter, if you're questioning it, um, just go ahead and give it a test, and then you'll know. And then I wouldn't always test it, to be honest. When I was out in the field, I came down to, if I see spotting in the windows, it came down to two things. Either my technique was not great, so I'll go make sure I do it right the second time. If I still see spotting, then it's got to be um, DI is going out. So that's where I'll replace it. Uh, and then you brought up something about virgin resin. Yeah, you have the ability to regenerate, what they call regenerate your resin, or you can buy regenerated resin from suppliers. And the reason why we just do virgin is because you want, like you said, just want to have the freshest resin possible. We don't know how many cycles or cleaning those resin beads have been done. Uh, the more frequent or the more cleaning they've done, they won't last as long. So if we were dealing with virgin resin, then we know we're just giving the best possible uh, low TDS to our windows, right? Or solar
Yeah.
panel cleaning. I did see a question here. I want to kind of highlight, go back to, well, somebody's asking about the 4060. We'll get to that in our next set. Palmer's window washing question I have: if you are cleaning a window with water fed and you guys don't rinse enough and those deposits on the glass get wet and dry again, can this leave water spots? That's a good question. Um, it's not going to be as, I don't think it'll be as severe as, so I've had homeowners replace their windows, and in between the cleanings that I've gone done, they've done their hose water, not knowing that that's really heavy minerals in the water. So that's definitely and it was starting to etch already, and I was able to use just steel wool. It wasn't set in enough. So in my opinion, it wouldn't, that's not going to be enough to etch. Now if you were there every day doing that, maybe that's a different story. But just those infrequent cleanings with, because that, even with some of that spotting, um, that isn't as severe as just pure unfiltered water, in my opinion. Thoughts on that, Cody?
Results vary. Um,
What I recommend is making sure you do it right.
from my world, from the pressure washing world, there's guys, and this is why I'm going to say this, is I'm always thinking, who cleaned that before you got there, just in case. Because if they did, somebody, let's say they soft washed the building and then contracted a window cleaner because they didn't know how to do windows, so they contracted a window cleaner. You come out there, and there is a residue already on it, and you don't know what it is. If it's soft washing, that residue is probably dried sodium, dried salt. Um, that's a whole different world to get that off. But you can use a little bit of soap and good clean water, and then try again. Try to clean the window. But so far, if you've got pure water and it's still streaking, then look back and see if there's like calcium deposits on the window, and then that's more of a restoration job than
Yeah.
just window cleaning.
Yeah, for sure. Just going to that question, if it's you're using pure water or a pure water system, it just didn't do good enough, and it didn't have those before. The high likelihood of it leaving enough to etch, especially by the next time you go clean. I I don't I don't feel that that would be the case, but absolutely true. If somebody else didn't come by and didn't do a good enough job, or they just clean clean the surface and never really address any previous issues there, that that could show up. All right. So we talked about the rival and the fill and go and max output pre filters and the DI. Let's common one now is the RO. Um, Sometimes people think I've had people say, "Oh, it's time to replace my RO." I'm like, "Oh, when you buy your system? Oh, it's just last year, but I think I have to replace all of them." That's most likely not the case. So there is some ways of figuring that out. And Cody, if you're troubleshooting with someone, how do you figure out if their RO, if it's time for their RO to be replaced?
Uh, First of all, I don't give up and I try to solve it. I'm not going to take, I just need another RO and then be like, okay, we'll sell you one.
Yeah.
I found a lot, and it is similar to the pressure washing world when it comes to airlock. If you have a leaky hose going to your system, you're introducing air. You're introducing air into every chamber of that system. And what'll happen is if air gets stuck in here, it's not going to work the way it's supposed to. It's not going to drain the way it's supposed to. It's not going to operate right. So what I like to do when I run into I just can't figure it out, I have a customer take this ring off, pull straight up, pull the lid up, and then we pull the RO membrane about this much out. And when they're airlocked, there's usually a suction noise right there once I pull it straight up. If I hear that suction, I don't always hear that suction. In the cases that I don't hear the suction, there wasn't an airlock. But in the ones where you can really just you can see these guys struggling and they're like putting all everything they got into pulling these ROs and they can't get it up. That's airlocked, and it's airlocked between the RO membrane, the line, and then into the DI. So what I've done is, after we do that, we go ahead and put the lid back on, run it just RO only, and then I'll run the wastewater at the same time. Then we'll turn off the RO and then just run wastewater, let it run its course, about 5 gallons or so, and then test it. 9 times out of 10, I solved two problems. I solved that it wasn't working with on the TDS. It wasn't reducing at least 80%. And it had more flow than it did when we first started. So then in that case, the next thing I do is I take the DI and just check it. I have the customer get the canister out and we kind of roll it around and then kind of repack it, put it back in. And then I'm usually at the lowest number or under 7. In those cases, I have a high success rate when it comes to those. But if it's just the resin's just bad or the RO's just bad, that's very rare. It's more of just a maintenance thing. Just kicking stuff around, make sure it works, and I can usually get them going. So that there may be situations where you thought, oh, I need a new RO already, and it probably just needed to be the airlock needed to be looked at, and that's on the rivals. The other systems that have the larger carbon before them, that's a different type of troubleshooting.
Right on. Um, and another thing, I got caught up with the comments. So if you said this part, let me know. um, we earlier alluded to when a membrane is new, especially if they have adequate pressure, they're operating. I say 90%, but there's times where they're operating higher than that brand new after you've kind of broken. You have your break-in period, 95% or so. So meaning, if you have X amount coming in, you'll see the RO removing at least 95% of that. That's great. We'll check it out. if you're anything less than 80%, that's when we're saying, okay, that's when you're taking a look at. Um, it's time to replace your RO membrane
Yeah,
because all that
under
means
80.
all that means is that and you can go lower if you want, but that just means you're going through your DI a lot faster. So you're temporarily pushing off that replacing your RO membrane. Yes, it's more costly filter, but then you're replacing your DI resin more quickly, which can get very expensive. So that's why keeping taking care of your RO membrane is key. And people ask how long will your RO membrane will last. Here in our area, our TDS, like my house is at 50. Here in Castle Rock, it fluctuates and go in the 200s, but mostly Colorado has great water. So we were seeing it's not uncommon for 5 years. In fact, we had a gentleman last year come in just to make sure everything's tuned up. We checked out his ROs. I mean, you've had this system for I think it was 14 years, and we're like, let's just out your RO, and it was still operating over 90%. So, care, great water. Now, if you're in Cody's neck of the woods in Texas, Arizona, California, Wisconsin, Indiana. There's a lot of these places that have TDS, commonly in the 400s, 500s. I've seen as high as 700 parts per million. Are you going to get 5 years? No, unfortunately not. You'll get less. And then, especially if you're in high heat areas, you're looking, operating, the RO likes to be at optimal performance around 70 degrees. We got some areas that are way hotter than that. So we'll have people in Arizona, they might get a year and a half. So just make sure you're accounting for that in your replacement costs. All right. I'm going to check in here, Cody, with the comments, see if you
Go
missed
ahead.
anything. Someone, Joshua, brought up about the DI saver. Uh, you know,
Yeah.
great thing to mention. In the past few years, we have introduced the DI saver, and this does two things. One, it helps with obviously if you're in an area that has, like I was saying at my house, I have the rival TDS at 50. It brought it down to about 6 parts per million. Guess what? I have it in RO only mode. Cleaning with that only. Don't need to touch the DI. So that's a way of saving on your DI, right?
Yep.
The other one is called TDS creep. So anytime you are setting up your system, you do your flushing, you put it in what I like to call clean mode. You shut off the waste. Obviously, it's still going to have water coming out of there a little bit, but it's mainly going to go through your system now, right? Well, initially, even after you flush it, you're going to have higher TDS coming out of your RO membrane. And then before that, that meant you're sending that higher TDS into the DI. Well, now with the DI saver, you can leave it in RO only. You can take your TDS meter, monitor that, and you'll see it come down pretty quick to where it will stabilize, and then you can send the best quality RO water into your DI. So, absolutely love that we have that in our rival, our H2 Pros, and max output. So, um, awesome feature. And if you have our previous version of the rival, we do have those DI savers available for purchase, and you can upgrade to a V2 rival cart. All right, Cody, let's go into the H2 Pros, the ones with and without the pump, the compact, the 4060, and I forgot to put it on there, but also the skid mounts, right? Um, let's talk about the carbon filter in those things. Can you help explain uh, the life expectancy of those?
I'd have to ask you on the life because I think it was more like 20. Is that right?
So your compact and your skid mounts, you're going to get like 80,000 gallons out of those. Your your H2 Pro, anything that has a 30-inch, so the 4060 and the H2 Pros, you're gonna get like 100,000 gallons out of
Wow.
those
Yeah, I was
filters.
way off. I was thinking
So
like 20,
yeah,
but
so obviously, when it comes to, I would say, to me also, what's important to me is time. Um, if I'm constantly having to replace filters or think about ordering those with the H2 Pro, and the 4060, those are, like I said, 30-inch. You can just have those in there. For some guys, 6 months, that's the whole season right there. So they're only replacing that one time a year.
yeah,
Um,
that's pretty good.
yeah. And
Um, and that's a good point. They're only changing that once a year. They're gonna do a lot less with everything on the H2 Pro. So, kind of going back to what I was saying is, when you start off, you got the rival, and you weren't changing out the resin as much as you are now because you didn't have the amount of jobs that you have. And then now the jobs are increasing, and you're just throwing resin at it, and you're like, what can I do different next year? How can I make an investment to help my monthly overhead? And that would be the H2 Pro. So as we're talking about this, carbon's a good example, and then also you do have a larger DI container that's also 30-inch, right? So you're going to get more life out of that. So going to my scenario of the resin of 209 at 50 ppm going from the RO to that, you'll get more like 680, 680 gallons. Um, so, and not to jump ahead, but yeah, on if you think of it, it is a much less maintenance. You'll be able to just keep knocking out commercial jobs as you grow, and or just more houses throughout the weeks. So for what it's worth. But now the RO is the same size. The RO is going to be for the H2 Pro and for the rival. They're both 40,
right.
40 inches.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So just overall, less changing. You're right.
Yeah.
Carbon, your DI. Um, and to me, like I said, that is just, to me, it's a kind of a lifesaver in the fact that, hey, I don't have to worry about, uh, especially in between jobs, right? It's all about being efficient while you're out cleaning, and if you're not having to worry about those, changing those out, downtime, it's just get the work done, right? So
Yeah.
really love those carts. Uh, the H2 Pro, that was at one point, it was exclusively sold through a dealer. We recently brought it back under the Tucker brand name, and it's been a hot seller, especially in our Ultima Residential kit. So we obviously have the Ultima Residential kit where you can get it with the rival, which is a fantastic entry level RODI cart. But that's what it is, honestly. It's a entry RODI cart. The H2 Pro is a fantastic upgrade, especially in that kit. And I know Jamie's not on with us, but he has been really helping out his guys with when they set up with the Ultimate Residential kit, getting them into that cart that can really last several years. Um, you know, and what I mean by that, also can the rival, but as their business grows, it can keep up with what they need out of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, as far as um, the RO membranes go, H2 Pro has the same um, 40-inch. The compact and the skid mount, those are our 21-inch ROs. So there's two ROs in the compact and the skid mount. Very popular with the pressure washing industry, right?
Yeah.
Those two systems. And then obviously the 4060 has two 30-inch custom RO membranes. So great technology in there. What is a very important thing to keep in mind when you are first starting up a system with these 30 and 21-inch carbon filters, and then when it comes time to replace them?
So what's different with these is you have to, when you get a new carbon, you got to flush it, and you got to flush it until you see clear water, and that takes close, I'd say over 10 minutes, just to be safe. If it has like a white color in it, you know, just just keep going, just keep going until it's clear, um, and then you can go ahead and connect it and go from there. If you don't, what happens is there's little particles inside the carbon that look like little pieces of charcoal, and they will end up in the top of the RO membrane. The RO membrane, to me, outside looking in, uh, when I first saw this, it looks like the top of a paper towel roll. It should look bright white, clean, pristine. But if you get charcoal, little bits and pieces, it looks like somebody put coffee grinds on it.
Yep.
That's not good, because what's going to happen is that stuff's going to drop down. I don't know how far down it goes, but it looks like it goes pretty deep, and that's going to cause issues with your membrane being able to do what it's supposed to do. So in some cases, they're pretty much past the point of no return at that point.
Yeah. We had a local who had, the skid mount. We also called it the wall mount in the past, and that's what he had. It was the 110 volt, electric
Yeah.
booster pump. He had it in the shop, and he will fill 500-gallon tanks with it. And then one day he calls me up, and he shares a video with me. What used to be, he would get 2.5 gallons a minute out of that, went down to a third of a gallon a minute. And we're trying to troubleshoot. And I said, "Hey, when you put your carbon in, did you flush it?" "Yeah, I think so." I'm like, so, to me, I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Thankfully, he was local, so we had him bring it in, and sure enough, we removed the ROs, had the black soot all around it,
Yep.
the the sprinkles of the carbon in there, and sure enough, that's what happened, and it just impeded that flow, where he wasn't getting any flow out of the RO membranes. And when I said a third of a gallon, it took probably about 5 minutes to get that, not in a minute. It was just trickling out. So obviously something was wrong. As soon as we replaced the ROs, bam, he was back in business. So very important. Please flush your carbon filters on those systems when new, and also when you go to replace them down the road.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, Looking at the time here, Cody, we're fast approaching an hour, so I want to make sure we get to the other part. How do you protect during winter? Um, we have our RO preserve. How do we go about using that?
To do the RO preserve, what you'll do is, I think it's about 2 gallons of water, 2.5 gallons of water, and you mix the it's a powder, so you're gonna mix that into a container, and with uh, your hose turned off, with your bypass turned off, you're gonna want to go ahead and pour that in there. Um, it shouldn't be so much to where it's actually going to leak out the system.
Okay. And so the preserve, just sometimes I think people get a little confused about what that effectively does. So this is protecting your RO membrane from bacteria buildup. So it's not protecting against freezing. It's that buildup, because what happen is the bacteria buildup can do the same thing as what that carbon does, and just ruin your RO. So want to make that clear. Now another question. Oh, I'm hearing feedback about our microphones. Oh, it's all good now, and I'm starting to hear something on my end. So
How
if we're
about
getting,
now? Am I
I
sounding
think we're
good?
good. I think we're good. How about everyone let us know if we're sounding good? Um, Going back to that, so yes, it protects against bacteria buildup, does not protect against freezing. So you'll want to ensure when you do use this, you're able to put um, your system to make sure it's going to be protected against freezing.
Yeah.
Because uh, that's what the most common thing. Well, most common thing we'll see either, and we'll see this a lot at the start of the year. Actually, people put it in their garage thinking it's going to be warm enough. They might use the RO preserve, they might not. And then we're seeing replacing the clear housing for the pre-filter or the DI. Fortunately, our still stainless steel housings won't burst, but we'll see issues to the RO membranes if they freeze, obviously. So just also keep in mind you want to keep it somewhere where it's warm. Also, here in Colorado, we do have winter, especially if we're in the front range, but within a few days, we're back in the 50s, and we're able to get back to cleaning our RODI systems. So really, putting that preserve isn't necessarily needed. So there's what we also recommend if you're living in an area like that where you can at least run water through your system every couple of weeks, at least just getting that water moving through the system so it can help prevent that bacteria buildup. That's also another way of helping your system go through the winter. A common question, Cody, that we get is, can I add antifreeze to our system? And we just want to be clear. I've talked to people and they said they've done it and they've done it for years and they just flush it out really well and it's been fine. We're going to give you information from like the manufacturers of the membranes. They don't ever mention anything about antifreeze. So we go simply what they provide, and that is the RO preserve. So it's essentially you're doing it at your own risk. um, because we don't know if that could damage the membranes. It's very possible. Um, it, and so be very careful with that. The one of the common things people do or ask about are the membranes warranted, and the simple answer is no. Why is that? Well, um, the manufacturers, everything they do, the main purpose for RO membranes is not the window cleaning industry. It's probably a very small percentage of what they use it for. Obviously, they have it in hospitals, drinking water, all these uh, chemical cleaning process. So those are very controlled environments. Well, in the world of window cleaning, our environments aren't controlled. They vary from job to job, and so if we can't quantify what exactly is going into they're not the manufacturers aren't going to warranty it. So no, weren't membranes aren't covered, and if you definitely if you put antifreeze to it, not covered. Thoughts on that, Cody? Lots of
You
down.
can do what you want to do. It's your equipment,
Yeah.
you know. And my grandpa always said, they're your pants. You can do what you want. So it's like, it's your equipment. Do I recommend it? No,
Yeah.
no. The RO preserve, whatever's in that chemical, it works. So go with that. That's my best suggestion. And the thing about the main ingredient in antifreeze, I cannot think of it. Glycol ether,
Mhm.
uh, the main ingredient. That's some terrible stuff sometimes, but sometimes it could be a game changer. They use it to neutralize bleach. But it's also deadly. And why would you want to put that in a filter? So that's just one of those things. I don't recommend it. That's my suggestion. And I'm gonna get hit with so many calls on. All right, I just pulled the system out. It had icicles on it. It was under my garage outside. And bears were kicking it around, but it's full of icicles and it won't work. Well, um, it probably won't. Um, if you've got cracks on the side of uh, your carbon, if that's cracked, or on the DI that's cracked, more than likely it froze, and that's what's going on in here too. So those are key factors to look at. If you can bring it indoors to where it's warm and it won't freeze, cool. For some of us, this has been a crazy winter across the United States. And that's how I was able to pull off so many 12 states in 6 days. And none of those had even a drop of rain, and it was warm. And I went all through the Southeast. So some of us didn't even see a freeze, but in the Northeastern, they did, especially like Jamie Hallman up there in the Michigan area. So areas like that, yeah, you want to make sure that the system doesn't freeze. Be aware, if your system's mounted on your vehicle, try to get it to a warm place. If not, you can take your filters out, bring them inside, and try to keep them warm. And we do have videos on this and previous podcasts to go in more detail. But that's the other option, is at least get the filters inside.
Yeah. We got Josh here, space heater. When we had our when I worked for Super Clean, a local company here, they had fill and goes. They insulated their vans. Uh, Also, they had a space heater in there that I would plug in when it would dip below freezing. Kept it warm enough, and so I was able to get back out there and keep cleaning. So yeah, definitely uh, the old saying. If they're cold, you're cold, or if you're
Yeah,
cold, they're cold.
that's right.
It goes well with our RODI cards and systems.
Yeah.
Um, and then just to kind of finish this up, other tips. What about um, making sure our systems stay nice? What about securing carts? What are your thoughts on that?
Baby it. Baby it as much as you can. I find, let's say you're going to mount it. Okay, mount it, but make sure wherever you mount it, is it going to work properly? Have you heard of DI channeling? Um, Things like that. Just are you going to be able to maintenance it? Is a ladder going to drop on it? So when I think of securing carts, it's is this the right thing for my investment? Is this where I want it all the time? Is something going to happen to it when I'm driving down the road? Um, just stuff like that. Think of the unexpected. you know,
Yeah.
if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But my thing about securing carts is, if you're going to secure it, also make a way to where you can do a quick release. There's ways to bolt stuff down, but don't use an actual bolt. Use those carriage bolts,
Yep.
or the type that have the little hole in it and
Yeah.
have like a little hook or a cotter pin, and that way it's just a quick release and you can go, and need to maintenance it. That's my opinion on that. Is secure it, but make sure you can undo it. Don't weld it on there. I mean, you can, it's your equipment, but for maintenance, I make sure you can get to everything. Um, the other thing I wanted to cover is, let's say you don't secure it, you just throw it in there, maybe have a bungee cord over it, but it's bouncing around. I barely had this in the back of my truck from going from here to my parents' house to shoot a picture for our calendar. It was in the back of the truck for maybe 8 minutes up and 8 minutes back, and it's all scratched up here on the DI saver. I had 2 bungee cords on it, and still it just bounced around, and it's just scratched. Luckily, it works. It's just cosmetic, but it made me think, man, that was just barely back there. Glad I didn't make any hard turns, but I'm in a 3/4 ton truck, so they're hard to maneuver, and it made me think, you really got to secure these things down, because they'll just fly all over the place. The other thing is, when you take these out of a truck, let's say it's mobile like this, but you're taking it from point A to point B, and you're going to pull it out. When you pull it out, make sure that it's not falling and hitting the ground. If it's falling and hitting the ground, that can damage the frame, that can make the tires split. Um, for the units that have motors, it may cause damage to the motor and pump because it may not be level. If you're continuously pulling it out and just letting it fall, um, it'll split. Same thing with pressure washers. They'll bow in, and that's where I learned that, and then I've seen it with our systems too. And I've asked, do you let it just fall when you pull out a tailgate? Well, why not? That's usually the answer. So, yeah, that's all I have on that. But just secure this stuff. Make sure that they don't bounce when you bring them down. Bring them down slow. Your
Yeah,
equipment will last longer.
yeah. I've been here for 5 years, so common things I see that what you mentioned moving around the truck. Yeah, make sure it's secure because you'll see it where inevitably you'll slam on the brakes, hit your gas, whatever, and it'll slam against the tailgate, right? Um,
Yep.
Now that you have the DI saver, it's a thing that you might smack. Before, even just with the fittings, people were breaking those because they were just put it in the back and going about, oh, I'm busy, and I need to get to that next job across town pretty fast. They're flying around. Next thing you know, they're snapping fittings. So just make sure you're securing the systems. Another thing is, um, on say the rival, you can operate that standing up or laying it down. We always recommend laying it down because you just never know. Somebody might walk into it, bump into it, or you get a little crazy with yanking the hose. Maybe it's caught on landscaping. Next thing you know, you're just yanking the whole thing and pulling your system down, and could damage your pre-filter housing. Like you said, the frame. So just we want to make sure we're taking care of our system. So if at all possible, lay it down. Cody, I had on here um, boost pumps, but I think it got erased. So
We
that's
can talk about it.
let's highlight it real quick. We are at the top of the hour, but I do want to just uh, let's go into those best ways of maintaining those. And you're a pump guy, so I'll let you take over.
With 12-volt pumps, the only way to charge them is with a deep cycle battery charger using a deep cycle. Don't charge it any other way. You'll have less problems. There's that. And then, so far as 110 booster pumps, a good 10 gauge extension cord, less likely to have problems. You can go a little bit smaller, like a 12, 14, but 10 gauge, you won't run into any issues. The longer your extension cord is, you got to factor in amps, and these systems, they need 15 amps to kick on, and some of those cords are so long and so thin that they're not getting that 15 amps, so it'll trip the breaker on the GFCI quicker than it needs to. uh, the other thing on pumps would be, you know make sure when you turn that pump on that the water's running, no matter that there's water supplied to it. As long as that there's water on the other side. Now, diaphragm pumps, you can run them dry for a little bit, but it's not recommended. Just make sure water's connected on both. But in short, that's my top basics on pumps.
Okay, awesome. Um, Trying to think about the booster pump. This isn't so much about maintenance, but I would say especially when systems are new, like on the H2 Pro with the 110 volt and the max output. Just thinking about it, sometimes we'll get calls, "Hey, I just got this system," or maybe it's later on in usage, and there's no water going through the system. How can you talk about maybe that rotary vane pump and what it might do? And
I'm still learning what could be some causes of these. I'm actually doing a case study for us on some of these pumps, but what I've seen is, and then also when I visited this last time to Castle Rock,
if someone has, for example, we've turned the ball valve off to the pole here. Uh, we do have a ball valve that comes, it's an on and off. And ideally, we want them at the pole so we can turn off the setup, right? The thing is, if you turn that off, but you got your pump going, that water is going to overheat the pump because it's just recycling in there. It's not bypassing out of a bypass hose like in the pressure washing world. We just bypass it to the tank. Not an option on this type of system. So it will just rotate inside there. And what's happening is the pump's overheating. I'm just using that ball valve as an example. There's other ways that could be. Let's say you've got the hose on the hose reel and it may be kinked in there. I recommend always use your hose reels transportation only to and from the job. That's it. That's how the firemen do it. So just only for transportation. When you're there, pull the hose all the way off. If not, what may happen is that hose could be kinked, and that's causing not full flow to the pole. So that's also heating up the pump. That's where I'm at on those. I've seen a few that look like they've overheated inside. You can look at the bearings on the inside and see that they've really gotten worn out. And from what we found is there was a restriction of flow somewhere.
Okay, cool. The other thing I was thinking about with those is that sometimes, just depending on where, inside that rotary vane it stops, right? And it might have stopped where it's shut off basically flow, and say you're not going to run your pump first, so it's all you need to do is do a quick turnover, and a lot of times they'll move it, reposition, and then water will flow through again.
Yeah.
So uh, that's just something to think about. If you're like, hey, it's brand new, save you can save a call from. I mean, I'm sure Cody would love to talk with you, but just go to the switch, turn it on and off, and what you'll often find is that it just needs to be repositioned internally, and then you're free flowing. Um, so, all right. Well, that was a blast, Cody.
Yeah.
Getting to chat with you, talking about if you're just joining, we went over how to maintain your systems. We went from rivals, fill and goes, max outputs, H2 pros, with and without pumps, compacts, 4060s, and skid mounts. So really top to bottom with our systems. Thanks, Cody, for helping us out, and I appreciate
Oh yeah.
everyone chiming in. Just a reminder, all month long we have our giveaway promotion, so all orders placed during the month will be entered to win $3,000 in Tucker USA store credit. So this will be applied to your account. Also, there is no purchase necessary. You can have mail-in entries. Just submit a mail-in entry, send your name, your contact information to 17 South Gilbert Street, Castle Rock, Colorado, 80104, postmarked by the 6th. And on the 9th, we'll announce our winner. So may the odds ever be in your favor. So thank you all. We look forward to having you guys again on the next episode 40, Waterfed Wednesday. Cheers, everyone.